I'm going to go ahead and go through this quick review for each of the 7 groups. So here's the first one. Given the equation y equals 2/3 x minus 4, answer the following questions. Let's find the slope. So when it's set up this way, slope is really easy. It's this number right here. Recall, we have y equals mx plus b. M is the slope, the number beside the x. It's just 2/3, not 2/3 x. The y-intercept, well, the b is the y-intercept. And I highly recommend writing this as an ordered pair. So 0, -4. I would not count off if you put just -4, but what I've noticed is that when students go to graph that, they don't graph it right often when all they put is -4. X-intercept. Well, the x-intercept, we're going to have to do a little work on this. So let me rewrite this right here. 2/3 x minus 4. So, oops, sorry, 2/3 x minus 4. The x-intercept occurs when y is 0. So we could just go ahead and plug in a 0 for the y and solve for x. So I'll add 4 to both sides. So 4 equals 2/3 x. And recall what we do when we are trying to solve for x. We can multiply both sides by the reciprocal. So multiply both sides by 3/2. Those cancel over here. 2 goes into 4 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6. So that is the x-intercept, 6, 0. And we would ultimately probably want to graph those. So let's go ahead and graph that. So we can graph it either by the slope and y-intercept. So I go down to -4. Slope is 2/3, so I go up 2 over 3. Up 2 over 3. And draw my line. Now notice another thing I could do is just plot the x and y intercepts. And notice when I graphed it the slope way, it crossed over right there at the x-intercept. So either way, you'll get exactly the same line. So write the equation of the line that's parallel to this line. It contains this point. So I'll label that xy. And so what is my slope? Well, my slope of lines that are parallel are exactly the same. So the slope is 2/3. It's parallel, so there's my point, 3, 4. And every time you use a formula, if you'll get in the habit of writing that down, it just makes everything flow really well. So I'm going to plug in my y. So 4 equals 2/3 times x, which is 3, plus b. And just do the math. So 3's cancel. I'll subtract 2 from both sides, and I'll get b equals 2. So what's my final equation? Is 2/3 x plus 2. So a very common wrong answer is to say 2/3 x plus 4. But notice we can't use 4 because 4 is not the y-intercept. It's just another coordinate of another point. We have to find that y-intercept. Okay, now write the equation of a line that is undefined that will fit on the graph. Any line. So any line that will fit on the graph, well, what do we got here? How about x equals 1? And so we can graph that right there. I don't think I asked you to graph this, but let's go ahead and graph that. Let's see if we get a line that looks parallel. So we're going to go to 2, and then we're going to go, there's my y-intercept, and then I'm going to go up 2 over 3. And there we go. So those are 2 lines. They may not look parallel. Looks like I cheated a little bit there, so it should have been up a little bit, but those are parallel. Write the equation for any line with a slope of 0 that'll fit on the graph. So we could say y equals really anything on here, anything between 6 and -7. We'll say, how about -6? So slope of 0 is a horizontal line. Okay. So again, there was my line x equals 1. There was my line y equals -6. This was my line y equals 2/3 x plus 2. And here was my line y equals 2/3 x minus 4. Okay, so I hope that helps. Okay, for the group 2. So this is given the equation y equals negative 2/3 x plus 4. Let's go ahead and answer these questions. Should be pretty similar to group 1. The slope, again, recall, we got y equals mx plus b. So the number beside the x is the slope, m, and that y-intercept is the b. So the slope here is going to be negative 2/3. And the y-intercept is going to be 4, and let's be a little more specific and say 0, 4. The x-intercept does not stand out here, so we're going to actually have to take that equation. Let me rewrite it over here. Negative 2/3 x plus 4. We could go ahead and put this in the standard form, ax plus by equals c. I think it's just, since we're just doing one of these, it's probably just as easy. We're going to plug a 0 in for y and solve for x. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 4 from both sides. I'll get negative 4 equals negative 2/3 x. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to go ahead and multiply both sides by a reciprocal of negative 2/3, which is negative 3/2. So we're multiplying both sides by that. Now what happens on the right-hand side is that these cancel out. That's why I did that. So I'll get x equals, and then just do some math here. So negative 3/2 times negative 4, I'm going to get a positive. So 2 goes into 4 2 times, and 3 times 2 is 6. So there is my x-intercept. It's going to be at 6, 0. I can go ahead and graph that. So again, we can graph this in one of two ways. I can go ahead and just graph the y-intercept. Let's see if you can see this, up here at 0, 4. And then use my slope of negative 2/3 to say what? I'm going to go down 2 over or right 3. And so there is my third point there. Okay. Or I could have graphed the intercepts, 0, 4, and here is my 6, 0. They both should be exactly the same graph. Okay, write the equation line that's parallel to this line and contains this point at negative 3, 1. So recall, I've got y equals mx plus b. So what do I need? I need a slope. So what is my slope going to be? Well, the slope is going to be the same as this, negative 2/3. So the slopes of parallel lines are the same. And then here's my point, negative 3, 1. So there's the x and there's the y. And then I'm just going to use my formula and plug everything in. Hope I left myself enough room here. So 1 equals, we have negative 2/3 as the slope, times x, which is negative 3. Ooh, that's going to be nice, right? Or nice enough. The two negatives give me a positive. So 3 goes into 3. And I'm left with b plus 2 equals 1. Subtract 2 from both sides. And so you get b equals negative 1. And so now I've got everything. So I'll have y equals negative 2/3 x minus 1. And I think we want to graph all these lines, so we'll go ahead and graph this in the same way. I've got negative 1, so go down to negative 1. Put you a nice obvious dot, and then we're going to go down 2 over 3 right there. Okay, and so there is my line, parallel, and it looks parallel too. Number 3, write the equation of any line with an undefined slope that'll fill in the graph. So recall, any line is going to be x equals for undefined slope. We can say x equals, how about x equals 4? X equals any number between negative 7 and 8. So we have nice vertical lines. Vertical lines have undefined slopes. That's x equals 4. Write the equation of any line with a slope of 0. So we know this is going to be y equals some number. How about y equals 2? There we go. And there is my line, y equals 2. So I hope that helps. All right, here is group 3, the test 2 quick review. So given the slope, we know we have y equals mx plus b. So that number m, the number beside the x is the slope. So our slope here is negative 3, fourths. The y-intercept, that's pretty easy right here, right? Is just the b value, and I'm going to put that as an ordered pair 0, 2. X-intercept, as we've seen before, if you've been following along in the first two, we're going to need to, let's write the equation down. So y equals negative 3/4 x plus 2. And I could write this in standard form, or since we're just doing one problem, we can just put a 0 in for y and solve for x. So 0 equals negative 3/4 x plus 2. I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. Minus 2 equals negative 3/4 x. And then I'm going to solve for x. I'll multiply both sides by the reciprocal. So those cancel, everything canceled on the right except for I'm just left with an x. And then I'm going to get 4 times 2 is 8. It's going to be positive because I've got 2 negatives, so 8/3. So I'm going to get 8/3, comma 0 for the x-intercept. We can go ahead and graph that. Probably easiest here, just use the y-intercept at 0, 2, so 0, 2. And slope is down 3, 1, 2, 3, over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now think about, let's see if this holds water here. So 8/3 is about what? About 2 2/3. And notice where my x-intercept is. Again, this is x, this is y. X-intercept is about 2 2/3, a little more than 2.5. So we're pretty confident that we got this one right. Okay, write the equation line perpendicular to. So this is slightly different than the first two groups that we had. Perpendicular, so my slope here is negative 3/4. What's the slope of a line that's perpendicular to that? Good, so it's going to be positive 4/3. It's the negative reciprocal, so you change the sign and flip the number. And then here's my point, 6, 5. And so I'll label it xy. I'm going to use my y equals mx plus b. And then plug everything in. So y is 5 equals 4/3 times x, which is 6, plus b. Just solve for b. So 3 goes into 6 a couple times. 2 times 4 is 8. So 5 equals 8 plus b. Subtract 8 from both sides. This should not be anything new. We've been doing this quite a long time now. B is negative 3. So here's my line. Y equals, here's my slope, positive 4/3 x plus negative 3, so we'll just say minus 3. You could say plus negative 3, it's the same thing. Let's go and graph that. So we're going to graph the y-intercept at negative 3, so come down to negative 3. 4/3, we're going to go up 4 over 3. 1, 2, 3. And draw your line. And that looks perpendicular. It looks like it's a right angle. Okay, write the equation of any line with an undefined slope. So undefined slope is going to be x equals, so we'll say x equals, I don't know, how about x equals 5? Undefined slope. Nice vertical line there. X equals 5, and then slope of 0. Well, how about we say y equals negative 5? Y equals negative 5. Horizontal line. Okay, hope that helps. All right, here is group 4 for the quick review. So given that equation, 3x minus 2y equals 8, answer the following questions below. So what is the slope? Well, a little bit harder to see when it's in this format. No worries, I can just solve for y. So we're going to solve for y. And I'll just do that up here. So I'm going to rewrite the equation. Solving for y, I'll subtract 3x from both sides. So I'm going to have negative 2y equals negative 3x plus 8, and then divide through by negative 2. So y equals, this is going to be a positive 3/2. The two negatives make it positive. 8 divided by negative 2 is a negative 4. Okay, so now it's a little bit easier, right? So we have the slope of 3/2 The y-intercept is at 0, -4. X-intercept, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to this original equation. Recall, I can do a little t-chart. So x-intercept occurs when y is 0. So when y is 0, what do I get for x? So this covers up that term. So 3x equals 8. X equals 8/3. So 8/3, comma, 0. And we can go and graph that. So y-intercept at 0, -4. Slope is 3/2. So I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3, over 2. And just like in the last one we did, notice where this x-intercept is. It's, not quite, a little bit more than a half between 2 and 3, which is about 2 2/3. So we're pretty confident we're right. These are just sketches, so it's not going to be exact. So write the equation of a line that's parallel to this line and contains this point. So it's parallel, so it's going to have the same slope as this line. So I already have my slope. We know it's 3/2. Here's my point. 2, 4. I can label that x and y, and then use y equals mx plus b. And just plug everything in. So 4 equals 3/2 x, which is 2, plus b. And we're going to solve for b. 2's cancel. So b, 3 plus something is 4. Well, that, we know b is 1. Subtract 3 from both sides. So b is 1. There's my slope. So I have my equation. 3/2 x plus 1. So let's go ahead and graph that. So start here at 1. Slope is 3/2. So I'm going to go up 3. 1, 2, 3 over 2. There's my line. And it does contain that 0.24 right there. And it looks parallel. So I'm pretty confident I got that one right. Write the equation of any line with an undefined slope. How about x equals -3? So we know that's going to be a vertical line through -3. X equals -3. And then write the equation of any line with a slope of 0. How about y equals 4? There we go. So y equals 4. All right. Hope that helps. All right, this is Group 5, the quick review for Test 2. So here I've given you an equation that's already been graphed, and you got to find the slope, y-intercept, and the equation, and the x-intercept. Let's see what we got here. So what's our slope? We'll find any 2 points that are clearly on a grid point. So here's one right here, and let's find another one right here. So what do I do to get from there to there? I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3 over 5. So I went up 3 over 5. So my slope is 3/5. Now what about the y-intercept? Well, it's right there. I'm going to say 0, -2. What about the equation? Well, we're kind of working backwards now. So y equals, recall it's y equals mx plus b. So y equals 3/5 x minus 2. How about the x-intercept? It looks like around 3 point something, not quite 3.5. Let's go ahead and find it more exactly. So again, the x-intercept occurs when y is 0. So we'll say 0 equals 3/5 x minus 2. Use your equation solving skills. Add 2 to both sides. 2 equals 3/5 x. Going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal. Multiply both sides by 5/3. Those cancel. I'll get x equals 10/3. So 10/3 kind of 0. And this is 10/3 is about what? 3 1/3? And that looks about right. Look at that. It's nice when that math sort of, everything kind of comes together. I love it. Write the equation of the line that's perpendicular to this line and contains this point. Okay, so perpendicular. So here's the slope of this line. So what's the slope of my line going to be? It's the negative reciprocal. So my slope of my line is going to be negative 5/3. Here's the point. I'm going to rewrite it 3, negative 2. Label. It seems like half of mathematics is writing stuff down again and again and labeling. It just takes a lot of the thinking out of the way. Here, I'm going to write my formula down again. Even though I know you know it in your heart by now, I recommend writing it down. It'll just help your problem flow. So y would be negative 2 equals m, which is negative 5/3. It's a fraction, but look at what's going to happen. I'm going to multiply by 3. I'm sure I made those come out fairly nice. 3's cancel. So negative 2 equals negative 5 plus 3. Or sorry, plus b. I'm foreshadowing here. I'm going to add 5 to both sides. So b equals 3. So what am I going to have here? My equation is going to be y equals m, which is negative 5/3, x plus 3. Let's go ahead and graph that. So when I graph that, I'm going to graph 3 right here. And then I'm going to go down 5 over 3. There we go. And my line looks pretty perpendicular. Now, I'll be honest, it won't always look perpendicular. It depends on how our y and x are scaled. I scaled them the same, probably in order to make sure you maintain this. But sometimes they're not the same scale. And this could be 10, 20, 30, 40, and things like that. So it may not look perpendicular when you draw it itself. All right, write the equation of any line with an undefined slope. So that's going to be an x equals some number. How about we do negative 3? So x equals negative 3. You could do x equals anything. There we go. Undefined slope at x equals negative 3. Question 4, slope of 0. Well, how about y equals negative 4? Any y equals would work. There we go. Okay, we've graphed all those lines. There we go. I hope that helps. All right, here is group 6, the test 2 quick review. Giving you equation, so our slope. Recall, y equals mx plus b. So m is my slope at negative 3/2. Y-intercept is b. I'm going to put an ordered pair 0, negative 1. The x-intercept, if I rewrite this equation, y equals negative 3/2 x minus 1. I plug a 0 in for y and solve for x. So negative 3/2 x minus 1, add 1 to both sides. We get 1 equals negative 3/2 x. Multiply both sides by the reciprocal. So times negative 2/3 times negative 2/3. These all cancel out. And I'll get x equals negative 2/3 times 1 is negative 2/3. So that is my x-intercept, and I prefer it as an ordered pair, just so we know what we're doing. Let's go ahead and graph that. So y-intercept is 0, negative 1. And then it says to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, over 2. So when I graph this out, there's my line. And does this match up? This goes through about negative 2/3, which is my x-intercept. Oop, got a typo here. I left off my negative here. All right, should have been negative. I did it in the work, but I forgot to transfer it over. I'm sure some of you caught that if you're watching the video. Okay, write the equation of a line that is parallel to this line and contains this point. So my line's parallel. I know the slopes are the same. Negative 3/2. And here's my point, 3, 4, x, y. So y equals mx plus b. So y, which is 4, equals negative 3/2 x, which is 3, plus b, Ooh, I'm going to answer the fraction here. No worries, though. So I'm just going to say 4 equals 3 times 3 is 9, so negative 9 halves plus b. So 9 halves is what? 4.5. So I'm basically going to add 9 halves to both sides. So 4.5 plus 4 is 8.5. So there's my equation. Y equals m, which is negative 3 halves x, plus 8.5. You can put 8.5. This one, a little bit of a pain to graph because we're graphing 8.5. We could do it. Actually, we can't even fit 8.5 on here, can we? So we could plot some points. So when x is 0, what do I get? Well, I get 8.5, which I'm not going to be able to fit on there. We'll just call that right there 8.5. They're just sketches. And then pick one more point. Let's pick 2. So when x is 2, those cancel, and I get negative 3 plus 8.5 is 5.5. So at 2, we're at 5.5, about right there. Doing our best with what we got. And those lines look about parallel. I did think I did pretty good. Okay, again, I went down. So write the equation line with an undefined slope that fits on the graph. We should be getting pretty good at this. We know it's a vertical line. How about x equals 4? There we go. And then how about a slope of 0 that'll fit on the graph? How about y equals 2? Nice horizontal line. All right, I guess that's it. Hope that helps. All right, this is test 2 quick review for group 7. Let's find the slope. So we're given negative 3x minus 2y equals 8. It's probably easiest here to go ahead and solve for y. There are other methods, but I think this is probably the easiest one to do. So negative 3x minus 2y equals 8. We'll add 3x to both sides. I like to scoot it right in there to get in our nice y equals mx plus b form. Divide both sides through by negative 2. So y equals negative 3 halves x minus 4. Slope is negative 3 halves. The y-intercept is 0, negative 4. And the x-intercept, probably easiest. Do a little t-chart here. X-intercept occurs when y is 0. And so go back to your original equation, because it's already set up pretty nice for that. When y is 0, that whole term goes away. I've got negative 3x equals 8. So 8 is negative 8 thirds. So I'm just going to say negative 8 thirds, comma 0. Let's go ahead and graph that. So I'm going to have 0, negative 4. I'm going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, over 2. Barely fits on there. And let's double, triple check our x-intercept is at negative 2 2/3, and that looks about right there, somewhere between negative 2 and 3, negative 3. Okay, write the equation of a line is parallel to this line. It contains this point. Parallel to this line, so if it's parallel, it's going to be the same slope. If it were perpendicular, it'd be the opposite, the negative reciprocal. It'd be positive 2/3. And then here's my point at 2, 4. And so what do I have here? Y equals mx plus b. A label. Now you've seen me do this. If you've been watching these, all 7 groups, I write the same thing down every time. It just gets me in that habit. I don't almost even have to think as much anymore when I do that. 4 equals m, which is negative 3 halves, x, which is 2, plus b. 2's cancel out. I'm going to add 3 to both sides. I'll get b equals 7. So y equals m, which is -3/2, x plus 7. So let's see if we got that. So I'm going to go ahead and graph that. Oop, it's not going to quite fit right there. We'll call that 7. And then I'm going to go down 3. So 1, 2, 3 over 2. 1, 2. There we go. Write the equation for any line with an undefined slope. So we know undefined is x equals, we'll say x equals 1. And slope is 0. How about y equals 3? All right, so that is all of the group assignments so far. Hope that helps.